Since this is for my personal use, I'm just gonna take a win where I can. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're gonna be doing more of a Scrapbuster project. I have this fabric scrap here that I originally created as a photography background for my Etsy shop. I used this navy fabric, a white fabric, and then an iron-on like foam fusible to fuse the two together to give it stiffness. But with this being fabric, it ended up having a lot of wrinkles and issues that I ended up just never using it for any of my photography. So I figured, let's find a project to put this to use. I ended up finding this quilted tote bag pattern, which I thought would be a great use of this since it already has the foam in the middle of the two sheets of fabric. You can just quilt it, cut it to size, and then, if all goes well, sew everything together. Now, I'm not an expert at quilting. The only quilting I've ever done was for this dog jacket for Christmas. And it was such a small project, it really flew by. Maybe it took me 30 minutes. And this is gonna be a larger scale one. So this is gonna be a little test. Let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna just be creating a simple grid pattern using the triangle and this ruler so that we can get the full length. I'm gonna start in these ugly creases because I want them to fall within a stitch so that it's kind of camouflaged. The creases are like gaps between the foam pieces inside of each fabric. So I'm gonna put this up against here. Okay, using the triangle and the ruler, like I said, we're just gonna make sure it's as evenly spaced as possible as we draw our quilting lines. And once we're done with those vertical stripes, we're gonna go ahead and move forward doing the exact same process to get the horizontal ones as well. Now I'm just prepping my sewing machine. Since this is a pretty thick fabric and we're going to be doing multiple layers, I went ahead and swapped out the regular foot with a walking foot. It's a type of foot for your sewing machine that helps it move thicker fabrics better. Also, I'm replacing my needle with a heavy-duty needle, again, because we're going to be quilting really thick fabric at some point. And then I'm adding on that khaki-colored string that we're going to be using for this project. I decided to start with the straps since they're essentially going to be an easier part of the quilting process. I'm not doing the gridded pattern like I chose to do for the bags. Instead, we're just going to do a straight, maybe 4 or 5 lines, just to give it a similar feel to the bag, but also it's going to make it so much easier as we move through each part of this project. I spared you guys the sound of my sewing machine sounding like a machine gun going off here because as fast as I was moving, and in fact, this is a slightly older sewing machine. I bought it off of eBay maybe 6 years ago. It was so loud. Okay, now that we're done with the straps, we're gonna move on to quilting the body. This might take a while since it's such a bigger piece. I try not to rush, but I'm probably gonna move as quick as I can. Okay, one small problem that it looks like we're gonna have to get through with the body is that the disappearing ink is disappearing. I guess I let it sit for a little too long as I was doing other stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna have to quickly redraw these. It's not gonna work without them. Okay, that should work. It looks like most of the perpendicular lines are still intact, so we're just gonna try to move quickly. So we have a small project update. As I was on the blog going through the next steps of this project to finish off the bag, I ended up getting to this section of recommended similar bag patterns or recommended bag patterns. And it got me thinking, what if I could make something complementary with the rest of the fabric that would go great with the bag? And my first thought was a wallet, which she ended up having a quilted wallet, which to me was the perfect addition to our tote bag. As you can see from the photo, this is the tutorial on how to make this quilted wallet. It honestly looks beautiful and it fits the style of my current wallet. The foam pocket, a crossbody strap. And so I figured, let's dive in. Why not make things more difficult for ourselves? So here we are. I went ahead and cut out all the required pieces that she details out on the website that I would need to make the wallet. And with the wallet being a little more fun, I ended up finding this, I think it's kind of a complementary patterned fabric in my stash. So I decided to use that for the wallet's interior. As well, I cut out some accent pockets that are going to be going on the outside of our tote bag just to tie the design together and make it a lot more fun. So first step, we need to quilt the body of the wallet, which is going to be the exact same grid pattern, but a little bit smaller as the tote bag. With the corners, they're supposed to be rounded, and I just could not find anything that fits the circumference, so this is the perfect time to use my handy dandy water bottle. This small piece here is going to be the external clasp of the wallet. I found these really cute, kind of floral shaped snaps that I wanted to use in this project, but they are sew on, so I'm gonna have to mark where I need to put them and then hand sew them on with needle and thread. This was a relatively simple and easy process. The floral shape of the snaps have little loops at the end made of metal that you just loop the thread through and pull to tighten, and you move around the flower as a whole and make sure to go through at least 2 times to make sure it's snug. And then of course you knot the thread at the end. Here we have the card slots that'll be going into the wallet. It's 3 different layers sandwiched on top of each other that I'm just going through and sealing at the bottom, as well as adding a line in the middle to separate them and make sure that you have the 6 distinct card slots to use in the wallet. The next component of the wallet that we're working on is the zipper pouch. I honestly hate attaching zippers, and at first I thought about leaving this project out, but we have to challenge ourselves sometimes, so we're adding a zipper. And this is honestly such a small project. I figured, how hard can it be? So here we're just marking out where we're going to have the zipper placed, or the opening for the zipper placed on the fabric. Once that's finished, we'll just pin it together with our inside lining fabric and sew around the box entirely. Once it's sewed, we're going to cut a slit and opening into that box that we just cut and miter it towards the corners. And then finally turn the entire thing inside out, which I had to think about really hard because there's no video on the tutorial blog site. But I managed to kind of get my mind wrapped around it and was able to do it. All right, everyone, it is a new day, and I'm sure as you guys saw from the previous footage, I did pick up an additional part of this project, which is making a matching wallet to go with the bag. It was another way to use up more of that double-sided fabric that I had, which was the whole purpose of doing the bag project in the beginning. So I spent most of yesterday working on this. We got everything quilted. We got all of the additional pieces sewn. There's a clear pocket for your cell phone, the wallet, slits, slots. And so today is gonna be mostly finishing up the bag, which we're gonna work on first, and then finishing up the assembly of the wallet. Okay, starting off with the other bag strap, I already bias bound, or I already used bias binding to bind the edges of the other strap. I haven't decided if I'm going to use the white side or the blue side to face outward. I'll play around with it once the bag is fully assembled and then I'll decide. But first, we need to bind the other strap just like this one. So I'm not experienced with bias binding at all. I think I've maybe used it 2 or 3 times. Once for the small dog jacket, and then another one for the large dog jacket that I made for our Rottweiler. But honestly, the large dog jacket, because it was so big, it did not come out well at all. Like bias binding, I have to watch the tutorial maybe 3 to 4 times before I can even attempt what we're doing right now. And even with the small dog coat that I made before, I didn't even do the correct process. What we're doing now on camera is the correct process, where you unwrap the bias tape and align the raw inner edge with the edge of the fabric or project that you're working on. You sew a line in that first crease all the way around, and then you fold the bias tape over and then top stitch another line on top. When it came to the dog jacket, I just slipped the fabric inside the pocket and sewed all the way around. And it was so easy because it's such a small jacket, but doing bigger projects like this one, or more intricate projects where there's a lot of corners like this one, it pays to do it the correct way. I kept having to think back to all the tutorials that I watched and read, like, okay, how do we apply this again, and making sure that I get it right the first time. Even though this bag is just for my own personal use, I like to make things that don't look like they were homemade, if that makes sense. All right, everyone, with the straps done, I went ahead and bound the top edge of our bag, as well as the raw edges of our pockets that are going to be accenting it. At this point in the project, I honestly started to get super excited. I'd never made a bag before or a wallet, and honestly, with all the moving pieces in this project, in my mind, I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than it was, and I was honestly starting to get really hyped up and kind of proud of what I had done so far and the potential of what it could be. So all that we have left is to attach the straps, attach the pockets, and then seal up the side and the bottom seams of the bag. So with that, I'm going to knock those out, and I'll see you guys in the reveal. All right, everyone, and there you have it, the end of our project. I'm actually very excited about the end of this. The bag itself, it's kind of just a traditional tote bag, but for me to take to work, it's actually a perfect size to fit my laptop, my work laptop that is, any kind of notebooks or my sketchbook that I carry with me. And then the wallet as well is one of my favorite parts because it kind of is similar to a wallet I already have, where it comes with a wristlet and a crossbody strap, just because I like the versatility of throwing my wallet into my big bag to take with me, or just carrying the wallet by itself if I'm just running into the grocery store really quickly. So I think the biggest pros of this project, especially since I added the wallet last minute, was the addition of this decorative fabric. I found it in my stash and it went really well with the colors that we already had going, which is why I included it. As far as the cons or difficulties, it's going to be that bias binding. I'm just not that good at bias binding, and you can kind of see if you look really closely areas where it doesn't look as clean or as professional. But since this is for my personal use, I'm just going to take a win where I can. So with that, I look forward to seeing you guys next week when we start a new project.